Okay, so today is March 24th, and it's been a while since I've done a video. So kind of quickly, this is what I've been doing. This is the plate for attaching the mizzen sheet to. This is the attachment place for the main sheet. It goes on there. I've got set up mocked up like a seat here to sit on for rowing. So I will probably build something out of foam and carbon fiber that will sit and kind of lock into that spot, so I can sit there and row. When I'm not using it, I can tuck it away in the cabin over there. I've played around a bit with oars and oar locks. So the oar locks have been screwed in. They're all attached, the plates for them, the mounts for them. These I'm going to change out for oar locks with horns, so I can actually take the oars out. So, and I've made the oars. They're sitting here, and this is the place where I'm going to store the oars, on the cabin top. So I tried a bunch of different places to store them, and this is the place that makes, I think, the most sense. If I tuck them in down below, I'd have to cut a hole through bulkhead up here, which I could do and store them down below, but that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's much easier to get at them and have them accessible if they're here. So it's the carbon fiber tube, and I basically epoxied on a piece of plywood, 1/4 inch plywood. You can see how I've attached it there. This little nub at the end of the oar shaft happens to fit very nicely up against here. Flip it over upside down. That sort of jams in there. So there's going to be a ring, a clamping ring that goes on here, which is basically a thing I was able to order online. It's used typically on 4x4s for securing gear on trucks or whatever. So I'll attach that here. It's got a little clamp strap thing that opens up. That'll hold this on here, so the oar won't be able to slide forward because the clamp thing will be holding it there. Won't be able to slide aft because that little nub pushing against the little water deflector thing. And then up here, I still haven't cut these off yet, but the ends of the oars will probably be somewhere around here. So I'm actually going to be cutting them back about here so that I can put an oar handle, because this is about 2 inches, 2¼ inches in diameter, which is way too big for my hand. So I'm going to be making a wood handle that will fit inside there and stick out about 5 inches or so, so it gives me something to hold on to. The other thing I'll be able to do, which seems to work out really nicely, is Venetian style rowing. So if I don't have a seat in there, I can actually just stand in the cockpit here, put the oars through the oar locks, and stand here facing forward, and basically just push row this way so I can see where I'm going. I've not ever done that standing up before, but it looks like it's a pretty good way to do things, and allows you to see where you're going, which is really nice. So that's another option. And I played around with a with the whole geometry of the whole thing, basically by setting up my laser level so that the level was at the level of the water line, and then rotated it around so that I could see the laser against the oar as it was coming out, and it makes a nice angle. The top of the oar blade, which is this part here, ends up being parallel with the surface of the water, which is the way it's supposed to be. And this shape kind of just sort of, it's very similar to the shapes of the blades that people typically use on rowing shells these days. This is probably a bigger blade than I need, but I'll be able to cutting down so it's easy to make it smaller. I just happen to have 2 leftover pieces of wood. They must have come from some part of the kit. So I've got leftover plywood stored against the wall, and a bunch more tucked down that way. And these were two pieces that were pretty much the shape that I just pulled out of the stack, and I said, oh, well, that works pretty well. So, and then the key thing you want to do when you're doing something like this is have roughly the same amount of area above and below the shaft, so that there's minimal twisting in your hand while you're rowing. And so I think I've got that pretty much squared away. May have to trim a little bit more off the bottom. I might just give this a little bit more of a rounding down here. But anyway, that's fine tuning later. And want to take this out and row it first the way I've got it before I go and hack bits off and then regret it later. So I've got up here, this is the main mast. The bushing is on it here. The other bushing is down inside the mast tube down in there. So once I get this out of the garage, I'll be able to set the mast inside that. This bushing here fits nice and tight on the mast. That worked out perfectly. It's a nice loose fit inside the tube there, so it should rotate nicely. I've got this piece here, which I'll be epoxying on over the top of this. I want to make sure, set the actual mast in the boat before I glue this all into place, just to make sure I've got it in the right place it should be. But it's worth the extra time to double check. And then there's basically two grooves here, and there's a hole on each side. And what will happen is the rope will go into the groove, go through and come out, and I'll put a knot here, and then one rope will be wound clockwise around this and the other one counterclockwise around that, so that when the mast is in the boat, I'll be able to actually basically unwind the sail or furl the sail in, power the mast either direction with those ropes, and those will be connected into the two cleats that are, so the ropes will go up through here and then through those cleats there. I'll need one more, I have to get one more cleat for the outhaul for the boom, which will also go through just, I think, over there on the starboard side of those. So I've got that yet to do. And the same, essentially the same setup or similar setup on the mizzen, except it's not a two pulley system because the sail's so much smaller. This sail is 120 square feet. The mizzen's only 20 square feet. So it's a handkerchief compared to this. And then this little collar here, this is where the boom will rest on here. So this is the boom here, and there will be, I'm gonna bolt through and attach little eyes like this either side of here and put a loop around the mast just to secure it in place. And then these will also be used for the outhaul on the boom. So there'll be a pulley on one side and a rope just attached to the other side. The rope goes out. At the end of the boom comes back to the edge of the clew on the sail, back out to the end of the boom, and then back to the other side, and then out to the other cleat over there. Yeah. So let's see. Oh yeah, and then I've got a couple of pieces of cherry wood out of the wood pile, and this is what I'm going to be turning into the handles for the oars. So got that set up on the lathe and start turning that today. And that's where I'm at. Thanks for watching.